Hey guys, I'm Mike, and this is the Board Game Rundown, and here we are at Gen Con, booth 1931. I got a special guest today. It is Koltin Thompson. How we doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
I'm so glad to be here. So glad to see you again.
Absolutely.
We connected at Origin, so it was good to see you here as well.
It was. That was the first time we met. So I know TK had reached out to us about the game well before Origins, and there were some conversations about what we could do to cover content for it. And then we finally met you guys at Origins, and that was a great experience because you guys just ran demo after demo in that Origins booth.
We did. We did. It was great, and it was a great opportunity, I think, for both of us to because people were coming because they're excited about our game. We were getting a little free exposure. You guys were getting some exposure. I think it was great.
It was. It really was. And of course, we're a small channel. Sometimes we learn on the fly. And when you have your own booth for a content creating channel for the first time, you're like, what are we going to do with this? Well, there's this game that a lot of people want to play, and those guys seem pretty friendly. Let's see if they want to run it in the booth. So sure enough, we did. We met you guys, and the rest is history. So, but obviously, you guys are working on an awesome project that's got, almost 1,500 followers on Kickstarter now?
We broke 1,900 this morning.
Dang. So you guys are crushing it. I mean, I think that was possibly under 1,000 when I talked to you guys at Origins.
Possibly, yeah.
So, I mean, you guys have gained like 1,000 followers in a little more than a month on that game, which, of course, the game I'm talking about is Galactic Cruise. He is one of the co-designers with TK King and Dennis Northcutt. And if you guys don't know about this game yet, you should, because it's already got nearly 2,000 Kickstarter followers, and you guys aren't launching it until next year. Do you have an idea when that's going to happen?
So Q1 of next year, probably February, March. We want to make sure that we have all the ducks in the row before we hit the launch button. So we're taking our time on it, but we're thinking Q1 of next year. Around February, March, we should be ready to go.
You guys already have so many people looking forward to it. I'm one of them. I've covered content on it, but what's sad is I haven't had a chance to learn the game or play it yet. That's next, all right? So I'm one of the people excited to play it too. But I want to talk a little bit about, of course, how the game came to be, how you guys became a co-design team and that sort of thing. And so maybe the best way to start is, you and TK are like childhood friends, right?
We are. We go back to before birth, because our moms knew each other when they were pregnant.
Wow.
So we both grew up in East Tennessee, in the same county, same area. So we started off. We went to church together, and he was just always like a built-in birthday party invite. I was a built-in birthday invite for him because it's someone you know. And as we got older, we realized that we're both creative types, so we tried everything together. Failed recipes, successful recipes,
right?
Filmmaking. I mean, just any kind of whim that you have as a kid, teenager, college kid. We've been together on, and then we embarked on this right around the time of the pandemic. So we were both locked down in our houses, and he texted me one day. He said, I think I want to make a board game. He's like, you want to make a board game with me? I said, yeah, I'm just sitting here at my house with my toddler at the time. Like, I got nothing but time. So we kind of dove in with both feet there, because at the time we had only ever played Catan, Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, and thought that was kind of it.
Right.
And we thought we were high class. We're like,
right.
Oh yeah, we can do this. And we're like, well, if we're going to do this, I guess we just see, I guess what else is out there, because maybe there are more than 3 games. There are more than 3 games, ladies and gentlemen.
There's more than 3 games. There's a few more. I find it amazing that you're basically saying that you guys are like fairly newer into the hobby, and you guys are already creating this fantastic idea, and it lends itself to, it doesn't matter where the ideas come from, it's the merit of the ideas themselves. And not taking anything away from you guys, this is the only project that people know about that you guys have worked on. Right. You guys have obviously worked on other stuff, it just hasn't been published or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. So in kind of the build up to Galactic Cruise, we probably have 2 dozen things that are in Tabletop Simulator. Some have been played, 12 times. Some have been played half of a time, and we're like, nope, we're not going to finish. This is not worth any more of our time. But Galactic Cruise was the one that stuck. We'd actually toyed around with some smaller games ideas, and we came along to this one. We said, you know what? If we're going to do this professionally, perhaps one day, we might as well do a bigger, more involved project that potentially puts you on the map more. And so we put everything else on the back burner, and we went hard into Galactic Cruise, designing, developing, getting it all shiny and polished for people.
And so, since you guys started playtesting and then launching the tabletop simulator that's playable, which you guys run demos of that regularly with, right?
We do, yeah. We schedule that through our Discord, so people can join the Kinson Key Games Discord, and we run normally about two games a week, one for new players and then one for experienced players, where we try out new fun ideas on our veterans. Yeah, normally about 2 games a week. So after Gen Con wraps up, we'll get those back on the docket for people.
When we get back, I'll be looking to get on a schedule. I got to get on a big beginner schedule first. Once I'm ready for advanced, that's when we'll talk about doing a tabletop simulator live video or something.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to trying that sometime. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's when you're first starting out, you got to figure out the ideas that are going to work and some of the ideas that don't work, and that's something that we experience all the time. We just try random stuff, and if it doesn't hit, what have we lost? Nothing.
Exactly.
It's like we're learning as we go.
For sure.
And that's obviously a big part of the process. So how did Dennis get involved then? Because you and TK are childhood friends. And Dennis, I learned, is from Canada, so I'm curious how he became part of the project.
So it was Proto ATL 2022. TK took Galactic Cruise down to Atlanta. At the time, I was expecting my second child, and there was some health stuff going on with my wife, so I stayed home, and our buddy Mark went down with TK. Mark's actually here at Gen Con, so if you see a fourth guy and you're like, that guy's not on the box, that's our buddy Mark. But they took Galactic Cruise down to Atlanta to play at Proto ATL, and Dennis was the first playtester. I think he just wandered over, kind of unassuming, just like, hey, you guys need a player? And they said, sure. He played the game, loved the game, and soon started jumping into our tabletop simulator games. And because of his schedule, he was able to sometimes lead games when we couldn't.
Nice.
And it got to a point where we would finish up a game with him, and the other playtesters would leave, and he would stick around and chat with us for hours and hours. And
start making useful suggestions.
Yes. Yeah. And we were like, he's like, hey, have you tried this? And we're like, I will try that. And it fixed the problem. And so it got to a point where I was like, okay, well, when we credit our lead playtesters, Dennis can be lead playtester. And then the DNA started shifting. I'm like, oh, wait, developer. He's a developer.
Yeah.
And then right around January of this year, he actually joined our company. We kind of legally made him part of Kinson Key Games.
Nice.
And it was at that point that we're like, you know what, this is your baby too. So so now the three of us are officially co-designers and also co-owners of the company.
Kinson Key Games, there it is. So that's your origin story. That's pretty cool. It's funny, the more people I talk to, and that's a prime example of the people that just walked by, where it was two guys' baby, and they started working on a game, and then one other person started giving very useful feedback. And then that useful feedback continued. And then it became, well, why don't you become part of this project as well? I've heard about that a lot, and it's funny how that happens. And, with this day and age, it can be from people in completely different parts of the world.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, he still lives up in Winnipeg, and he just flies down for various things and crashes at someone's house. And
It's amazing to me that you can have people working on the same project, like what ends up being a physical, tangible board game where you have to be in the same place to play it, but all of the inner workings of playtesting it are done digitally and from different parts of the world, and I find that fascinating. So.
And we learn nothing from our parents as kids, because it's like, I am literally meeting and hugging people on the internet all weekend that I've only met online.
Right.
I know them.
I know. I have so many internet friends in the board game industry that when I'm excited to meet them for the first time, it feels like, no, we're old friends. We're not internet friends.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
we're past that. Yeah, definitely. So speaking of making a splash, you guys were talking about, hey, you started with smaller games and you kicked some of those to the side and said, let's make a big splash. And you made a huge splash with your art choice. And I've praised you guys about how much that has basically been an advertising tool for you guys. What went into the process of choosing such a high, a well-known name like Ian Toole for your box cover and all of the components as well?
So we've been a fan of Ian O'Toole's artwork since
Who isn't?
First saw it. Yeah.
It's amazing.
So as well as things like, as we were designing, we're like, this feels like it could be, a type of game that Ian O'Toole would do artwork for. Maybe we can find someone like Ian O'Toole, but you can't just find someone who's like Ian O'Toole because he's Ian O'Toole. So
one of a kind.
We started that process. It was a very long process. So we tried to get in touch with him early on, and the man is swamped in projects.
I'm sure he is.
So it took like a second round of reach out. Once we had a little more playtesting under our belt, we felt like we had a little more credibility maybe. And
because you didn't want to approach Ian O'Toole with a couple of mechanics slapped together, right?
Exactly. It actually took. We had a playtester who was a published designer who was he's like, hey, I know Ian. Let me just check for you. And I think he kind of opened a doorway a little bit for us. So I may be getting these dates wrong, but I think it was March of last year. We basically got on a pencil in kind of thing. It wasn't until September though that he was actually able to play it and make a commitment okay, I can start on this next year, which was earlier this year. So I think it was April or so, he actually started on the artwork. So that was a full 14 months after we originally had an email back from him that he actually started. And then,
so that whole time you're kind of waiting for him to commit, so you're sort of on the edge of your seat waiting.
Yeah. It's like he had given us a verbal, but it's until you have that document come to your email, and you
it's not real yet.
Sign it, scan it back. It's not real.
So there's one thing I wanted to ask you that you said it wasn't until after he played it that he said that he would do it.
That's a big Ian O'Toole thing.
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
He plays the games. That's another reason that we were so excited about having him. Is we met with several artists who are very good artists who they wanted to meet and hear the theme of the game. And when we asked them, do you want to set up a time to play? We had an artist say, oh, I don't play the games. You just tell me what the game is and I illustrate it. Ian, though, our understanding is he will design it and then assemble it himself and play it to make sure that the user interface, the user experience is excellent. And if it's not, he iterates from there.
Well, that makes sense why the graphic design on his games and the iconography is always good. He knows how they function. If you play them, if you don't play them, I think it would be very hard to do iconography in a board game. If you don't know how those icons work with each other. That's really interesting. Wow. So, on top of that, okay, so go back to, you guys were just kind of playing, Catan and Ticket to Ride. When did it morph into, TK is a big fan of Lacerda games. When did it graduate to that level?
So I think it was a multi-step process, right? So we jump in, we join some Facebook groups, and we see that there are all these games we've never heard of. So of course we jump on, Amazon or Walmart, Target. Like, where can we get these things? And we just started buying games and playing them. There is a great it's a used bookstore, but they sell used everything near where we live. So we would go there and scan the board game aisles, just playing anything and everything. And what we found is TK really gravitated towards like the crunchy, heavy strategy stuff, which I also enjoy. I play everything though. Like my top 10 games, they range from like these medium, heavy, like hours-long things to I love a good party game. I love a good like simple like 30-minute game. I'm also a big solo player, so sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do all this work just for me. I want to put out something that I can play and put up. So, but that's where TK I think really fell in love with it. Because actually I got the Gallerist. That was our first Lacerda we played. Because I'd watched videos on it. I said, oh, this looks cool. It looks beautiful. At the time, I didn't know who the artist was. I learned quickly. It's our boy, Ian O'Toole.
Yeah.
But we played it, loved it, and then that was kind of the start of TK's heavy game journey and my like just adding heaviness to more things that I love journey.
And I asked that because obviously that became the motivation for Galactic Cruise, because that's a medium heavy worker placement game with several layers of interlocking mechanics. So how has the game evolved since you guys first started playtesting it to where it is now? Like, walk me through kind of like some of the mechanics that have been added, taken away, that sort of stuff.
The first version of the game, TK and I played in May of 2021. He had texted me about it, and he was like, I've been working on something. I want to tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to get it up on TTS. So we go in, we play it. It's fairly bare bones. I mean, it's just, there was no even like Google image ripped art. It was just black on white, like he created it in, some program.
Go here, do this.
Exactly. The two of us played 4 hours, and it was extremely involved. It was, you go to a spot on the board, you take one thing. You get one food, you get one fuel, you get one oxygen. You do this one thing. And it was just back and forth, back and forth. It was great. We loved it. But it was 4 hours of our lives. I mean, 2 hours per player is not ideal unless you are, playing Twilight Imperium. Otherwise, 2 hours per player is probably too long.
It's a lot.
But the bones were really good. This idea of building these shuttles that people were going to take on space vacations. Because we love cruises. When he graduated college, we went on a cruise. I graduated college a year later, we went on another cruise.
I just got another topic to talk about. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So we love going on cruises.
Nice.
And TK especially is fascinated with like space and space travel and like NASA, SpaceX, all that
It's
stuff.
very
He
interesting.
follows all that stuff. So like bringing those things together was kind of the jumping off point. Throughout, it's always been a worker placement game, but even that has changed. So when it started, it was very kind of strict worker placement. Like, if I go here, you cannot go there. I block you. And that evolved into various forms of bumping that now turns into, if I go here and you bump me out, I get my worker back. I get to take bonuses. It's almost the opposite. It went from like very strict and punishing to like very kind of open and free and mutually beneficial for us.
Nice.
We've had rounds in the game. We've gone roundless. We went back to rounds. It's now a roundless game. It's going to stay that way, where it's now an organic ending. Players bring about the end of the game rather than saying you play 4 rounds and you're done. it's like a lot has changed, but then a lot is like, if you go back and look at the very first version ever, there's still some DNA from it there.
Sure. But yeah, when you've got a medium heavy game with a lot of mechanics, there's a lot of play testing. There's a lot of things that can change, especially as you've been working on it for 3+ years now.
Yeah, and what's funny is looking back at it, and because sometimes we'll go back, we'll look at like the old versions, and you tell exactly what we were playing at the time. Because like the very first version, like at the time, viticulture was my #1 game.
Okay.
So there's a lot of viticulture in the
Right.
DNA. And then you can tell, like, as we started, like, playing, like, Scythe, like, there's some Scythe influence. And as we started playing Lacerda, there's, like, some Lacerda stuff. My favorite designer, I have a handful, but if I have to pick, like, one, it's Alexander Pfister.
Okay.
So it's like there's some there's some small, like, Pfister-y things that made their way in, and I think certainly will make it into future projects as well, because there's a lot of cool stuff that happens there. So it's fun to see like your influences start to meld together.
Oh yeah. That doesn't change. That you will always be changing your taste as you play more games. That's what's wild about it. I go through in phases all the time.
For sure.
I don't want to try games like this for a while. I have too many, and then one blows me away, and let me get more games like that. Okay, so you said Pfister is your favorite designer. Then tell me some of your favorite games.
So my #1 game right now is Sky Mines, which is one of his games.
Yeah.
It's the reskin of Mombasa.
Right.
So rather than exploiting Africa, we're exploiting the moon now. Right under that, though, is Paladins of the West Kingdom.
Oh, nice.
Shem Phillips and Sam McDonald.
Which I saw you guys met him yesterday. How cool was that?
Dennis and TK met them.
You weren't in that picture.
I wasn't in that picture.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
I'm rubbing it in.
I'm not bitter. No, I'm sure they're around. I'm sure that I'll track them down. Because when they play tested Galactic Cruise together, that was probably a weird name drop. Be like, I have famous playtesters.
Right.
I was like, guys, if Alexander Pfister was also at this table, I would have like my Mount Rushmore right here.
Right.
But they're great. So Paladins is there. Great Western Trail is in my top 10. Blackout Hong Kong, a lot of Alexander Pfister stuff's up there. But then also stuff like Quacks Quedlinburg, perennial top 10.
Oh yeah.
Just One.
That's a great game too.
My favorite party game.
Nice.
Wingspan was my #1 for a long time. It's slipping a little bit.
It's still a good game though.
It's one of those things. It's like watching your favorite movie so many times.
Yes.
At some point, you're like,
yeah,
I've seen this. I've watched it. I'm gonna take a break from it. But if you said like, hey, do you want to play Wingspan? I would drop everything and be like, let's stop the interview right now.
Yes.
Get out the bird feeder.
Exactly. I know. Those are two games specifically, Quacks and Wingspan. Yes, there may be games that do what they do better since they've been out. And yeah, there are better games that are out there. But if I just want to sit down for like an hour and just relax and not have to think a whole lot, like I still got to think, but I've played the game so many times, that like it feels relaxing to just sit down and play those games.
And so far, they both are like 100% success rate with family members who have played.
Yeah.
Like, and for Quacks, even family members who haven't played anything, but it's like, oh, you've played, maybe Dominion and Catan. Like, here's Wingspan, and we played with my in-laws, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And as soon as we were done, they're like, well, we know what we're getting her dad for Christmas.
I've had that happen. Yes.
It's great.
It is a great next step game. I have gotten so many people to buy Wingspan. It's like, okay, you liked Catan or you liked Quacks. That's another one I like to show people right out of the gate. But, hey, here's the next step game is Wingspan.
Yeah.
That one hits for me a lot, too. Okay, so what cruises have you been on? All
right, so what's funny is I feel like somehow I always end up on, like, very similar cruises to each other because I always go with Carnival. TK and I think took the same cruise 1 year apart to Freeport and Nassau, and then on my
Nice.
honeymoon I went on a cruise to we went down to Mexico. I think it was Cozumel and the Yucatan Peninsula.
Did you go from Key West?
We went from,
Because that's one of the ones I did, is the loop from Key West to Cozumel, Mexico, and back.
let's see, on my honeymoon we left from New Orleans, which was also cool
Nice.
because it was like we scheduled like a day before and maybe 2 days after. So it was like after we got off our cruise, we like went and did, poor newlywed things where we're like, right, this would be so cool if we had some money, but we're living on love right now. But it was cool. But I think Port Canaveral is where we left from the other ones.
Wow. That sounds cool. So you guys like to travel and do stuff like that? Is that
I
one of your
love
things?
traveling. I love going new places.
How far are you away from Gatlinburg?
From Gatlinburg, 2.5 hours. Maybe.
It's like one of my favorite places in the United States.
I love Gatlinburg.
Smoky Mountains National
Gatlinburg,
Park.
Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, which I think are kind of just conglomerating.
They are now.
What's funny is like being from East Tennessee, it's like those three places are the same place to me. Because
Yeah.
it's like if you go to one place, you're
Oh, yeah.
hitting them all.
You're going to take the drive down to Gatlinburg if
Exactly.
you're in Sevierville.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's funny because I went there when I was a kid, and then I went back like about 6 years ago, and I've been 3 times in the last 6 years. And from when I was a kid, I was like, whoa, there's way more stuff in Pigeon Forge now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, it's all one area now. It's like Gatlinburg has grown that much. But when you're the last town into the Smoky Mountains and you have that view, then it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I just love how
beautiful.
gorgeous it is there. Speaking of which, weird segue, but we have a guy coming here later, TJ Swing, who designed Hike It, the backpacking board game, and you hike in the Smoky Mountain National Park, and it actually is a map of the national park. Real to life with all the real falls and everything.
That's so cool.
I gravitated to that game because I've walked those trails, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then I had to, I have an upcoming cruise I'm insanely excited about, and this is why I had to ask, and this is not about me, but I'm cruising Alaska in 13 days, and I cannot wait.
That's awesome. Dennis was on an Alaskan cruise back in January, I want to say, and he said it was incredible.
Yeah, just the views alone, the pictures I've seen, the place is breathtaking. And when I go on vacation, I want to see something pretty. That's why I drive down to Tennessee. There's nothing to see up here in Indiana but corn and board games.
Yeah. Hey, I had passed through Indiana before. This is actually my first time staying in Indiana for any
No reason
duration.
to stop except for this.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is we were up in where were we? I think it was back in college or so. We were going to Ohio, maybe, and there was a way we could go where we could dip into Indiana the way we were road tripping it through, and we're like, yeah, we'll dip into Indiana, but it's cool to actually be here and say okay, I've slept in Indiana.
Right.
So.
It is kind of cool being known for the largest board game in the United States.
For sure.
There's a couple other things Indiana is known for, but being known for Gen Con is pretty awesome for sure. Well, Dennis, I don't know if I had anything else to add to this, unless there's anything, if you want specifically to talk about some of the things you already told us when the Kickstarter is coming out. You guys are already very well involved. You have a Facebook group, a Discord. Feel free to tell everybody about that stuff.
Yeah, so we are on Facebook. So we have a Kinson Key Games Facebook page, but most of our activity is in the Galactic Cruise Facebook group. It's a private group, but it's as simple as saying, join group. You answer, a few questions, just so we can gatekeep a little bit, so no one's in there trying to sell you a pyramid scheme, because that's our job. Is to sell you on the scheme.
Yeah.
We also have the Kinson Key Discord. We are babies on Twitter and TikTok, but we recently got them for the company just because we would start Googling our name, as one does, and it's on Twitter, and you click on it, it's you have to have a Twitter account to see it from your phone, and I said, okay, we'll make one. So. But we're there. We also have a website, KinsonKeyGames.com, where people can sign up for our email mailing list, where we send out a monthly email. We do have the Kickstarter notify me page up, like you were mentioning. So we're trying to be all over the place, but I would say that Facebook and Discord are the places we post most often.
And like you said, in the Discord, you set up those tabletop simulator plays
yes.
too. So if you guys want to check out the game, I'm in there. They're running seriously demos all throughout the week, not just this week, but all the time. So lots of opportunities to play the game before the Kickstarter comes out. And you guys are doing a great job of just getting the exposure of your game out very early. I mean, like I said, you've already have almost 2,000 followers. I expect you guys to crush it when that game goes live. It's going to be cool to see.
We're hoping so, because it will have been a my fear, not really my fear, because it's also like my wildest dream is like, they're like, oh, it was an overnight success. Be like, it was over about 1,000 nights success.
Right.
When you come from like having, according to Board Game Geek, having never done anything to you know, getting kind of the buzz we're getting, it's, you know, I hope that people realize the amount of work that we put into it. So yeah, we're hoping that it pays off for us, and we're certainly working every day to eliminate as many risks as we can. So
I think it will do very well, but I mean, also, I think what this interview has highlighted is that it didn't just become a game like the moment it hit Kickstarter.
Right.
And even then, that's not even the end of the road. You know, you guys have put in blood, sweat, and tears for years now. I saw you guys win an award at the Southern Fried Gaming Expo. You guys have been everywhere with this game, and that's why you have so many followers already. It's just awesome to see, and I really hope you guys keep crushing it. I just need to play it. I hate doing this, and I haven't, but it's like, you know, you start planning for an event like this, and that takes priority. And I'm like, they know I want to play their game. We'll get there.
We're not worried.
So you should want to play it too, because, you know, it looks incredible. Crunchy worker placement, I mean, who doesn't like that, right? With the, you know, tool art. When, you know what, real quick, before we segue off, I know he's working on the prototype for the boards. Do you have you've told me before, do you know when the rest of the prototype art is going to be completed by him?
I'm thinking, last he told us, he said maybe early September we should have everything. We were really hoping to have something before Gen Con, like
I bet.
anything where we could just like whip out our phone and be like, here's what it's going to look like. But it's one of those things, I was telling someone earlier today, I was like, if we wanted like fast food art, we would have got a fast food artist.
Yeah, right.
Well, right now we're waiting on the gourmet chef.
Yes.
So if it takes a little longer to cook,
Absolutely.
we're okay with it.
Yep. Don't take that bird out too early.
That's right.
I'm with you. Because you guys are making all the right decisions. I can't wait to see how this does on Kickstarter. Guys, this is Mike from the Board Game Rundown at Gen Con booth 1931. This is how Kinson Key Games and Galactic Cruise became a thing. Watch for this game. Join their Discord. Go play it. Koltin, I can't wait to see how far you guys go with this.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on here. It's
been
great.
Awesome to have you, man. Until next time, this has been the Board Game Rundown. We'll see you next time.